Hey everyone, it's Kate from LoveStory, and today I want to talk about A Gentleman in Moscow by, now let me try to get this right, Amor Towles. I watched a video of him saying his name, so I think that's right, but I apologize if that's not right. So I read this last month in August, and I only just started doing these videos, so I didn't get a chance to do an August wrap-up video, but this is one of my favorite books this year, and maybe one of my favorite books of all time. As soon as I finished reading this book, I wanted to start again, but there's so many books to read, I didn't. But I'm gonna be reading it again very soon, probably. So if you don't know, A Gentleman in Moscow, my Idaho came out. We have a town that I used to live in Idaho called Moscow, which is spelled exactly the same as Moscow, but they don't want to be thought of as Russia, so they say it Moscow. Side note, that was weird. Anyways, A Gentleman in Moscow is actually in Russia. So we follow Count Alexander Rostov. Starts in 1922, and he is sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. But what's different about this house arrest is that it's not in his actual house. This house arrest is in the Metropole, which is a historic fancy hotel that is straight across the street from the Kremlin. And so the Moscow officials walk him from the Kremlin into the Metropole, and he's told that if he ever steps outside the hotel, he'll be shot. And so in this book, which is a pretty long book but pretty amazing, it goes really fast. There's so many different characters and so much happens just inside this hotel. It's amazing. So we follow him day to day, the Count, day to day, and see what he does throughout being stuck inside this hotel. Eventually he takes a job and he makes all these amazing relationships with the hotel staff and the hotel guests, and you see the inside workings of the hotel, and it's just fascinating to see this. I forget how long this book lasts in years, but it's a long time, and we see one particular character actually grow up and come back with her kid, and it's just so endearing to see Count Rostov make all of these relationships and turn a really bad circumstance into a really great life. And it's amazing to see how Amor Towles takes this one situation. I saw an interview with him, which I'll link here, where he talks about he went to this hotel. It's a real life hotel in Russia. He went there years and years and years before he wrote this book, and he thought, what would it be like if someone had to live in this hotel? Because you think of hotel and you think people come and visit and they stay for a short time and then they leave. But what if someone had to actually live in this hotel? And then he thought, what if it wasn't voluntary? What if they were forced to live here and they couldn't leave? Like, the Count couldn't even take a step outside the hotel without fearing for his life. And so to see the intricacy of the hotel and the Count's life and all of his relationships, it's just incredible. The writing, the prose is spot on, beautiful. This is a library edition that I have here, with the hardcover and the fancy book, plastic and everything. But when I read the book, I read the Kindle version, the online version, and it has footnotes, which, according to the author in this interview that's linked here, is kind of like an outside the hotel voice, talking about everything that's going on in the book and the time period and the place it's going on. And 1922, if you didn't know anything about Russia in that time, is the Stalin era, and so we get all of the behind the scenes looks at the Stalin era and the Bolsheviks and the politics going on in that era. But the footnotes are from a person outside of the hotel, and in the online version, digital version, it has interactive footnotes, so you can click on the little asterisk symbol and it takes you straight to the footnote, and then you click on it again where the footnote is and it takes you back to where you were reading. So it's pretty amazing. I love books like that because then you don't have to keep track of what page you're on. So whether you read the hard copy or the audiobook or the digital book, it's a great read, a must read. I gave it 5 stars because that's as high as the ratings can go. But I probably would have given it higher if they went higher. It's just completely engaging, great relationships, friendships. The history is technically a historical fiction book because it's 1922 in Russia, in a real place, a real hotel, and it has some real people-ish, and it's just so amazing. Like I said, the language is amazing. I talk about it constantly to people because it's so good. I'm always recommending it if you want a good historical fiction book in a different place that a lot of historical fiction books take place in England or the UK in general, and during, like World War I or World War II, those kinds. And I love those books, don't get me wrong. You'll see plenty of videos about those kinds of books. But this is a different kind of book because it's in Russia. It's in the 1920s and I think into the 30s, maybe beyond that. And it's a historical fiction book because of that, but it doesn't, and because it has historical figures like Stalin and the Bolsheviks. But that's not the main part of the story, which is what I love most about this being called a historical fiction book. Usually in historical fiction books, the history is the main part of the story. It revolves around something that happened in history or someone in history. But in this, the historical fiction is kind of a backdrop to the story itself and the Count. And what I've just recently learned about A Gentleman in Moscow is it's going to be made into what's called a limited TV series. They don't have many details right now about it, but what we do know is that it's going to be produced by and starring Kenneth Branagh, who I absolutely love. You'll hear me talk about him so much because he's an amazing actor, producer, writer. He's brilliant, and he will play the Count, and he will do it with perfection and to a T. So I look forward to seeing that whenever it comes out. Kenneth Branagh played among so many legendary characters. He was one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter. He played, gosh, what is his name? The professor in Chamber of Secrets, Dark Arts. I forget his name right now, but someone will tell me in the comments and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's it. He plays the detective in Murder on the Orient Express. He plays many iconic roles. I'm blanking right now on all of his other roles, but he's amazing, and he's a great producer. He produces a lot of the movies that he's in. Hey, it's Kate from 10 Minutes in the Future, and I just wanted to make a side note about Kenneth Branagh because I looked up some of his characters that I, for some reason, could not think of. And number 1, Harry Potter and Chamber of Secrets, he played Gilderoy Lockhart. That's the name of the character. I can't believe I couldn't remember that because he's one of my absolute favorites. And he plays him amazing. Better than the Rain character, I think. He's also, and if you remember back in the 90s, Wild Wild West with Will Smith, he played Loveless. So many different characters, like I said. He was the voice in The Road to El Dorado. He played Miguel. Dunkirk, I believe, Valkyrie, just about all of the Shakespeare movies and plays. He was an uncredited voice in the Avengers Infinity War, little known fact, I think. He played Asgardian Distress Call. He played Jack Ryan. Like I said, all of the Shakespeare, he's a Shakespeare trained character, which are some of the best. And he plays Hercule Poirot, which is the main detective in the Agatha Christie books / now movies. So he was the detective in Murder in the Orient Express, like I said, and now they're in the middle of post-production of Death on the Nile, which is another Agatha Christie book turned into a movie with the same detective. And most recently, he was in Tenet. Which was such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'll link the trailer here. But he had amazing acting skills in that movie too. So that's a little side note about Kenneth Branagh, one of my favorite actors ever. Anyways, back to the original video. An amazing producer. So I look forward to seeing that when it comes out, because I think it'll be a really great adaptation. And as I was reading the book, before I even learned that it's going to be an adaptation, I thought this would make a great movie or TV series, because there's so much that goes on. And it was already like a movie playing in my head when I was reading it, but I was like, this would be amazing to see someone's interpretation of. So I look forward to that. So that is my 5-star review of A Gentleman in Moscow, right here, by Amor Towles. And I don't think there was any spoilers in there, so I'm going to go ahead and say spoiler free. If you want a spoiler edition, let me know in the comments. Let me know what other books you think I should read or review, or what other videos you want. Like, comment, subscribe. If you've read this book, let me know what you thought. Did you love it as much as I did, or did you not like it as much? And let me know why. I look forward to discussion. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you get notifications of our next videos. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.